The humans are laughing at us, Supreme Commander Zorac reported Lieutenant Vex nervously. Her violet skin deepened to purple as embarrassment washed over her. They are actually laughing. Zorac's four eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of rage among the Kian species. His grip on the command chair grew so tight the metal began to bend. Replay that message, he growled. The main screen flickered to life, showing Admiral Tessa Monroe of Earth's Defense Forces. Her auburn hair was cut short, and her ocean blue eyes glinted with amusement. She was trying not to smile. Let me understand this correctly, she said. You, the great Kian Empire, are declaring war on us because we refuse to let you mine an empty rock on the edge of our solar system? Zorac's secondary heart began to race. The disrespect, the absolute lack of fear. We are the Kian Empire, he had told her before. We have conquered 12 galaxies. Our warships block out suns. Our soldiers number in the trillions. The peace treaty from 1,000 years ago is now expired. We choose not to renew it. Surrender now or face destruction. And what had this human done? Laughed. Actually laughed. You understand we have been watching you for 1,000 years, right? Monroe continued in the recording. We have studied your communications, examined your technology, and learned your military tactics. That old treaty was never meant to protect us. It was meant to protect you. The bridge went silent. 50 of the Empire's highest-ranking officers stared at their commander, waiting for his response. She is bluffing, whispered Science Officer Krell. They have to be bluffing. Are they? Zorac turned to his intelligence director, Lurar. Explain this. Why aren't they terrified? Why aren't they begging for mercy? They are just one species in one solar system. Lurar stepped forward, his exoskeleton clicking with stress. Supreme Commander, our information on humans is limited. The treaty prevented us from watching them directly. We know they were primitive when we first found them. They had barely learned to travel through space. Their weapons used chemicals. Their doctors still cut open bodies and sewed them back together. And now? We do not know, admitted Lurar. The treaty kept us 5 light-years away from their system at all times. We have detected strange energy patterns over the centuries, but nothing clear. It is possible they have made progress. Zorac snorted. In a mere 1,000 years? Impossible. No species advances that quickly. We needed 15,000 years just to master space travel. With respect, Commander, interrupted Fleet Admiral Dex. Her facial tentacles twisted with worry. Perhaps we should send a scout ship first to measure their true strength, before we commit to a full invasion. Cowardice, snapped Zorac. From a member of my own fleet? No less, we are Kian, we do not scout. We do not measure. We conquer. But Supreme Commander, Dex pressed forward. If there is even a small chance the human is being truthful. Enough, roared Zorac, rising to his full height of 12 feet. Prepare the Armada, all ships, all warriors. We will darken their skies. We will boil their oceans. We will show these humans what the might of the Kian Empire truly means. As his bridge officers raced to obey, Zorac turned back to the screen. Admiral Monroe was still smirking. One more thing, she said before the transmission cut out. When you come, bring something interesting. We have been stuck in this solar system for 1,000 years with nothing to do but prepare for your arrival. We are very much looking forward to seeing what you have brought. The transmission ended. For the first time in centuries, Zorac felt a sensation he could not name. Was it doubt? He shook his massive head, pushing the feeling away. Director Lurar, he commanded, tell me about the human military strength. Lurar checked his data screen. Based on information from 1,000 years ago, they had about 50 million soldiers and 10,000 simple spacecraft. Our forces number 10 trillion warriors across the entire empire, with 500 million currently on our main warships. The Armada consists of 100,000 battleships. Each one can turn a planet's surface into molten rock. Zorac relaxed slightly. The numbers were clear. Even if humans had advanced, they could never match that kind of power. There is something else, Supreme Commander, said Lurar hesitantly. About the humans themselves. In our early studies, we found something strange. They respond to threats by becoming more aggressive, not more fearful, and they have an unusual relationship with death. They know they will die, yet they live as if they are immortal. This makes them unpredictable. Zorac waved a dismissive appendage. Strange behavior will not save them from plasma weapons. Set our course for the solar system. Maximum speed. As the mighty Kian Armada began to move, a swarm of destruction stretching across light years, Zorac could not stop thinking about the human's laugh. It was not the laugh of someone bluffing. It was the laugh of someone who knew secrets he did not. For the first time in his 300 years of life, Supreme Commander Zorac felt fear crawl down his spine. The journey to Earth took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of planning. 3 weeks of battle simulations. 3 weeks of Zorac telling himself this would be a swift and glorious victory. 3 weeks of trying to forget that laughter. "We are reaching the edge of the solar system," announced Navigator Zell. "Pluto orbit in 5 minutes." Zorac nodded, his silver ceremonial armor gleaming in the bridge light. He had dressed for victory today. "Any sign they know we are coming?" Communications Officer Trill checked her instruments. "Nothing, Commander. No warnings, no defensive preparations. The system is completely open." "Overconfidence," huffed Zorac. "The most reliable warning sign of defeat." The Kian warships entered the solar system, keeping their battle formation tight. They passed the ice giants Neptune and Uranus without incident. When Saturn came into view, Zorac began to feel more confident. Perhaps the humans truly were bluffing. Perhaps they had gone insane during their 1,000 years of isolation. "Supreme Commander," called out Science Officer Krell suddenly. "I'm detecting strange signals from Saturn's rings." "Explain," ordered Zorac. "The rings are moving," she said, confusion clear in her voice. "Sections are changing position. That is not possible with normal orbital mechanics." Before Zorac could respond, the tactical display erupted with alarms. Saturn's rings were breaking apart, but not randomly. They were reforming, shifting, transforming. "It is not ice," whispered Krell. "The rings are not ice and rock. They are ships," finished Zorac, watching in horror as billions, no trillions of tiny craft emerged from their perfect hiding place. They had been disguised as part of Saturn itself, invisible until they moved. "Incoming transmission," announced Trill, her voice shaking. The screen showed Admiral Monroe again, standing on a bridge similar to their own but sleeker, more modern. "Welcome to the solar system, Commander Zorac," she said cheerfully. "I see you brought your entire family." "How thoughtful." Zorac struggled to stay calm. "What is the meaning of this deception? Where did these ships come from?" "Deception?" Monroe raised an eyebrow. "This is just preparation. As for the ships, we built them. All 10 billion of them. We had plenty of time on our hands, what with that peace treaty and all." "Impossible," roared Zorac. "No civilization could build so many vessels." "Oh, that is right," Monroe smiled. "You still build your ships by hand." "How charming. We stopped doing that about 800 years ago. These days our factories can produce a fully working warship every 1.3 seconds. To the math, Commander." Zorac turned to his tactical officer. "Weapons status." "All systems ready, Supreme Commander. Target their fleet and fire." Monroe sighed. "Really, that is your move? All right then." The Kian Armada unleashed its fury. 100,000 battleships fired at once. The vacuum of space lit up with weapon fire, a stunning display of destructive power that should have eliminated any normal force. But the human ships did something impossible. They did not just dodge, they danced. They twisted and turned with perfect precision. Some accelerated at speeds that should have crushed any living pilot. "They are not crewed," realized Krell. "Those ships are completely automated." "Correct," said Monroe, watching with obvious enjoyment. "We call them the Swarm. Fully artificial intelligence controlled. They have been running practice battles against Kian tactics for about 900 years now. They are quite good at it. Not a single human vessel had been hit. Not one." "Our turn," said Monroe, her smile fading. "Just a small demonstration." A group of human ships, perhaps 1,000 out of the billions, broke away and accelerated toward the Kian fleet. They were tiny compared to the massive Kian warships, no bigger than a planetary shuttle. "Defensive shields at maximum," ordered Zorac. The human vessels did not fire. Instead, they simply passed through the Kian defense shields as if they were not there. Then they touched the hulls of 20 Kian ships and passed right through the solid metal. Seconds later, those 20 warships simply came apart at the molecular level, turning into clouds of floating atoms. The bridge went completely silent. "These phase shift ships," explained Monroe casually, "allow our vessels to exist between different states of matter. We figured it out while studying quantum physics. It is quite useful. Hard to defend against something that can just ignore your shields entirely." Zorac had no words. This was not just advanced technology. This was magic. Science that broke all the rules he knew. "So," continued Monroe, clapping her hands together, "here is my offer. You take your fleet home. You renew the treaty for another 10,000 years. We pretend this whole thing never happened. And if you refuse? Managed Zorac, his voice barely above a whisper. Then we will finish our little demonstration, and the Kian Empire will need to find a new Supreme Commander and about 100,000 new warships. Supreme Commander Zorac had never retreated in his entire 300 years of military service. The concept was so foreign to Kian culture that their language did not even have a proper word for it. The closest translation was strategic repositioning, for future conquest, a phrase so rarely used that most officers had never even heard it. Yet here he was, ordering the most powerful military force in the universe to back away from a single star system. All ships, reverse course, he commanded, each word tasting like poison on his tongue. Hold defensive formation, no aggressive actions. His bridge officers exchanged shocked looks but obeyed without question. Even the most battle-hungry among them had seen what happened to those 20 warships. None of them wanted to share that fate. The human vessels are holding position, reported Tactical Officer JX. They are not attacking. On the screen, Admiral Monroe nodded with approval. Wise choice, Commander. Your ships are free to leave unharmed. This is not over, growled Zorac. The Kian Empire does not surrender. Of course not, agreed Monroe, that infuriating smirk returning. You are simply engaging in strategic repositioning for future conquest. We understand completely. Zorac's upper eyes narrowed. You speak our language. We speak all 3,177 languages used across the Kian Empire, she replied, including the 22 classified military dialects. A linguistic study was one of our first research priorities. You have been spying on us, accused Zorac. The treaty prevented direct contact. That old treaty said nothing about remote observation, said Admiral with a laugh. Remote observation across thousands of light years? Impossible. Quantum entanglement communication, she explained, as if talking to a child. Instant data transfer across infinite distance. We have had tiny observation probes scattered throughout your entire empire for about 950 years. They are about the size of dust particles. Do not waste time looking for them. Zorac felt his rage building, threatening to overwhelm his control. You dare mock the greatest empire the universe has ever known? Greatest? Monroe tilted her head thoughtfully. By what measure? Territory? Sure, you have us there. We have stayed in one solar system, but technology, resource management, scientific understanding, medical advancement? I'm afraid you are behind by several centuries. You lie, roared Zorac. No species advances so quickly. Most do not, agreed Monroe. But most species do not have our specific combination of short lifespans, intense curiosity, and existential fear. We knew we might face extinction at any moment. It is remarkable what humans can accomplish when properly driven. As the Kian fleet continued its humiliating retreat, Director Lurar approached Zorac's command chair and spoke quietly. Supreme Commander, I have been studying the human vessels. Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. Their numbers, even with advanced automation, building billions of warships would need resources far beyond what a single solar system should have. Your meaning, Director? Said Zorac. I believe they have learned to convert matter into energy at a basic level, said Lurar. They are creating ships from raw energy, possibly even from empty space itself. The scientific possibilities are enormous. Zorac took in this information with growing horror. If humans could create matter from energy, they were essentially unlimited in their military power. They could build endless armadas, endless weapons, endless soldiers. Admiral Monroe, he said, forcing himself to speak with respect. Before we leave, I must ask, why did your ancestors sign that treaty if not for their own protection? Monroe's expression softened. Honestly, pity. Pity? Repeated Zorac in disbelief. Our first contact specialist concluded that your species had reached a developmental dead end, she explained. Your biology and your culture had reached their peak. Without outside help, you would remain stuck technologically for thousands of years. Our ancestors thought giving you 1,000 years might help you grow on your own. Catch up a little before we had to interact as equals. Apparently, we were too hopeful. The bridge fell silent again. This time it was not the silence of shock. It was the silence of shared shame. Every officer and warrior present felt the sting of her words. And deep down, they knew she was right. The Empire had not created any real technological breakthrough in generations. Their conquests had always been about stealing the ideas of others, not developing their own. "We will return," promised Zorac, desperation in his voice. "We will study, we will progress, and we will return." "I truly hope you do," said Monroe. And for the first time she seemed completely honest. The galaxy needs the Kian to evolve beyond conquest. There are threats out there that need cooperation, not competition. Threats that neither humans nor Kians can face alone. Zorac's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. What threats? In 12 galaxies, we have encountered no species more powerful than ourselves. "Because they do not want to be found," said Monroe mysteriously. "Not yet. But they are watching. Just as we have been watching you." Before Zorac could demand more information, the massive human fleet began to move. Not toward the retreating Kians, but into a strange formation that seemed to ripple through space itself. "What are they doing?" asked Krell desperately. "I do not know," began Lurar, then froze. "Supreme Commander, they are creating a gravitational anomaly, a massive one." On the screen, the billions of human ships began to rotate in perfect synchronization, producing an artificial gravity well of impossible size. Space itself began to bend visibly. "This is just a small example of our abilities," said Monroe. "A little something to remember us by." The swirling collection of ships suddenly collapsed inward. For a brief moment, it seemed like a brand new star was being born. A blinding flash forced the screen to darken automatically. When the light faded where billions of ships had been, now floated something impossible. A perfectly formed Saturn, identical in every way to the original, created in minutes. The same rings, the same color, the same size. "Did they just create a planet?" whispered Navigator Zell, her voice filled with wonder. "We will be in contact, Commander Zorac," said Monroe, her image beginning to fade. "When you are ready to have a real conversation about what comes next, we will be here. Until then, I suggest you use your time well." As the transmission ended and the Kian Armada limped away from the solar system, Zorac remained frozen in his command chair, staring at the duplicate Saturn growing smaller on the screen. For the first time in his life, he truly understood what it meant to be primitive. The return to Kian home world took 3 months. 3 months of silence, 3 months of shame. 3 months of Zorac locked away, reviewing everything they knew about humans, searching desperately for any weakness, any flaw in their godlike abilities. He found none. When the Armada finally reached home, Zorac expected to lose his rank, possibly even face execution. The Kian Empire did not accept failure. But to his surprise, the High Council requested only a private meeting, away from public view. "Tell us everything," commanded Arch-Counselor Vexar, the oldest living Kian and the Empire's leader. "Leave nothing out." Zorac told the entire humiliating story. The laughter, the hidden fleet, the phase shift technology, the creation of the duplicate Saturn. With each detail, the council members' faces grew more serious. "And these humans claim there are greater threats than themselves?" asked Counselor Dries when he finished. "Yes, Counselor," though they gave no details. "A bluff, perhaps," suggested Counselor Krell. "A tactic to prevent us from focusing on defeating them later." Zorac shook his head. "I do not believe so. The human admiral had no reason to make up such a claim. They had already proven they were superior." "Then what do you propose, Supreme Commander?" asked Vexar, leaning forward. "What path serves the Empire best in this unprecedented situation?" Zorac had spent 3 months considering this exact question. His answer would determine not just his fate, but possibly the fate of the entire Kian species. "I propose we learn," he said simply. "Learn?" repeated Vexar. "Explain." "The humans were right about us," admitted Zorac. The words were painful to speak. We have become stagnant, lazy. For 10,000 years we have conquered instead of created. We have stolen technology instead of developing our own. It has left us weak. Angry murmurs rippled through the council. But Vexar raised his hand for silence. I propose we remake our entire imperial vision, continued Zorac. Less focus on military growth, more focus on scientific progress. We must close the gap between ourselves and the humans. You propose we stop conquering? Growled Counselor Traz. That is the foundation of everything we are. Not stop, clarified Zorac. Postpone, for a century, perhaps two. Use those resources for research and invention instead. And what of the humans in the meantime? Asked Counselor Vexma. What if they choose to leave their solar system and conquer as we have conquered? They will not, said Zorac with certainty. If conquest were their goal, they would have begun 1,000 years ago. They have a different kind of strength, one we do not yet understand. The council chambers fell silent as the gathered leaders thought about his words. Finally, Vexar spoke. There is wisdom in your proposal, Supreme Commander, but such a fundamental change will face resistance. Many will call it cowardice. Let them, said Zorac firmly. I have seen what waits for us if we continue as we are now. A war we cannot win. Extinction. I would rather face accusations of cowardice than lead our species to destruction. Vexar nodded slowly. Very well, we will put it to a vote. But first, there is one more matter. He motioned to a guard who activated a communication panel. Bring in the visitor. The chamber doors slid open. A human entered. Not Admiral Monroe, but a male figure, tall and lean with dark skin and close-cropped hair. He wore no military uniform, only simple clothing in earth colors. This is Dr. Jackson Webb, introduced Vexar. He arrived yesterday alone in a vessel no larger than a personal shuttle. How did he reach our homeworld? Demanded Zorac. Our defenses are quite impressive, interrupted Dr. Webb pleasantly. I particularly enjoyed the autonomous systems in the inner approach. Very clever, Supreme Commander Zorac, I presume. He extended his hand. After a moment of confusion, Zorac reluctantly extended his own appendage. Webb clasped it briefly. Admiral Monroe sends her greetings. Why are you here, human? Growled Zorac. To offer help, replied Webb simply. And to give you this. He handed Zorac a small device no larger than a Kian data crystal. It glowed with soft blue light. What is it? The complete scientific and technological history of humanity, said Webb. Every discovery, every invention, every theoretical framework from the most basic tools to phase shift technology, everything except weapons. Those you will need to develop yourselves if you choose. Zorac stared at the tiny device in shock. Why would you give us this? Webb smiled, and Zorac noticed it was similar to Monroe's expression. Not quite a smirk, but close. The smile of a species completely sure of its place. Because growth requires competition, explained Webb. For the past 1,000 years, humans have had none. Yes, we advanced quickly, but without outside pressure, without other perspectives, we became stuck in our own thinking. We are offering you a chance to push us forward, and we would like to become your partners, not your enemies. You want us as competitors? Asked Zorac, skeptical. We want you as colleagues, corrected Webb. Partners in building galactic civilization. The threats Admiral Monroe mentioned, they are real, and they will need more than just human innovation to stop them. Vexar leaned forward. What threats precisely? Webb's expression grew serious. There are spaces between the galaxies where light behaves strangely, regions where the rules of physics themselves become twisted. We have been studying them for centuries. Something is coming. Something ancient. Something that considers both our species nothing more than bacteria on a cosmic scale. And you believe the Kian Empire would aid humanity after your demonstration of our weakness? Asked Counselor Dries skeptically. I believe you will aid yourselves, replied Webb. Self-preservation is powerful. All species share it. And I believe that given time, and this, he gestured at the device, you might actually become the partners we need. Zorac looked down at the crystal holding millennia of human knowledge. Everything would change. The balance of power in the Empire, social structures, economic systems, their entire civilization, but it would also save them from becoming obsolete. We accept your offering, Dr. Webb, said Zorac finally, and your challenge. Webb nodded, apparently satisfied. Excellent. In that case, I am allowed to suggest a new treaty, not one based on separation this time based on limited cooperation, scientific exchange, cultural dialogue, preparing for what is coming, and military matters, asked Zorac carefully. Webb's expression turned serious once more. Let us just say that how quickly we share our defensive technologies will depend entirely on how quickly you stop pursuing military conquest. The implication was clear. Humans were offering a way forward, but not automatic trust. That would have to be earned. As the council debated the terms of this unprecedented agreement, Zorac found himself watching the human carefully. Not with anger or resentment now, but with genuine curiosity. How had they advanced so quickly? What made them explore instead of conquer? What could the mighty Kian Empire actually learn from a species confined to a single solar system? And most mysteriously, why did they still laugh in the face of threats? As Webb caught his gaze, there was that same hint of amusement, that same impossible confidence. Perhaps, Zorac reflected, that would be the first mystery they would solve. Understanding why a species responded to declarations of war not with fear or rage, but with laughter. For the first time since his humiliating retreat from Earth, Zorac felt something new stirring inside him. Not a hunger for revenge, not shame, but something he had not felt since his youth, when he first looked up at the stars and wondered what lay beyond. Curiosity. As Dr. Webb began explaining his proposal for cooperative research, Zorac found himself looking forward to what came next. A future where the Kian Empire might become something more than conquerors, something worthy of standing alongside humanity when the real war began.